And he urged the officers to work hand in hand with local communities, with traditional rulers. Well, the IGP, Christian Tete Yohunu, he welcomed the Asantehene warmly. He called the visit a landmark moment that shows how tradition and modern governance can team up to keep Ghana safe, united, fighting together.
Public expectations of the police were high and patience was thin. Within this short period, the impact of leadership has been felt, and we see a style reflecting the essential element in law enforcement: calm authority and modern professionalism. Tradition and modern law enforcement are not rivals struggling for relevance. They are collaborators safeguarding the same future. When traditional authority respects legal authority, communities stabilize. When police respect local customs, cooperation deepens. When both communicate openly, crime loses its hiding place.
Your consistent support for the Ghana Police Service, especially in the Ashanti region, has been both fatherly and exemplary. I recall that you have hosted several Inspectors General of Police and police leadership over the years, offering counsel, guidance, and encouragement, with doors always open to us. I must commend Your Majesty and highlight your role in peace building and conflict resolution, which has had a profound impact on national security. Mentioning your exceptional mediation skills, which have restored peace in numerous conflicts across our nation, compels me to describe you as the King Solomon of our time.
And that of the IGP, Christian Tete Yohunu. The Asantehene praised the professionalism and the sacrifices of the Ghana Police Service in maintaining peace and security across the nation. And then he urged the police to be politically neutral and then uphold integrity, emphasizing that public order must be rooted in values and not force. In fact, he proposed that police officers be trained to better understand local customs and cultural context, particularly at where they are operating, and then called for structured collaboration between traditional leaders and the police. For the IGP, he described the visit as a turning point, as historic and symbolic in national security relations between traditional authority and modern policing. He called the Asantehene a modern-day King Solomon. And then he pledged to integrate indigenous knowledge and cultural awareness into police training to make law enforcement more effective and community-aligned.
We are the children of the Rastaman.
Others and engage with some security experts. Dr. Victor Doke is a security lecturer and a security expert joining us.
Africa, united.
Dr. Richard Kumado is also a fraud and a security consultant. He's also joining us on the films. Good morning to you, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Let me start with you, Dr. Doke. This is a historic visit that the Asantehene has paid on the IGP, and then he stressed that public order must be built on values and not force. In practical terms, what does this mean for day-to-day policing in Ghana?
Well, I think let me extend my regards to my big Happy New Year, brother. So, values and not force. The king, in his own, status and aura, has deemed it necessary to reiterate the aspect of tradition, coordinating or collaboration with formal institutions, which is very key. Now, we know how in the community there are certain norms and values that are very regarded, held high esteem when it comes to fighting crime or keeping the peace. So you look at those values and norms, and then you can blend them with the formal ones, and then you can achieve a goal. So he's trying to let us know that going forward, I think we can blend the two and then come out with something that will be acceptable in the community. Because whatever you do, the chiefs, the elders are the custodians of the land. Traditionally, they are, the heads of the people. So whatever it is with peace and security, before even the police will get there, they have an upper hand. So it is very key that we include the traditional rulers and authorities in the fight, against the threats that we face day in and day out.
And Dr. Kumado, can traditional leaders, can they legitimately support community policing without blurring lines of authority or accountability?
Definitely, yes, if we structure it in the manner that yields efficiency and effectiveness of law enforcement. To the extent that in every community we have a traditional ruler, and these traditional rulers have key authority and responsibility. If law enforcement officers can leverage on that authority, it helps in the area of crime prevention and crime prosecution. Having said that, nobody is above the law, and the police operates with the statutory laws of this land. So even in situations where traditional leaders have flouted the law, it has to be handled in a manner that ensures that justice is served and the people's right has been preserved. Because traditional authority, religious leaders, community leaders, all have the authority to abuse their powers in a manner. In the same time, they have the right to ensure that their communities conform to the statutory laws, traditions, values, and norms of the area. So it makes it very unique that we all operate within a structured form, but we have roles and responsibility, and we must work together, particularly when it comes to crime prevention, which is a common enemy of the people.
So that's the ideal situation. But what risk could there be or exist in formalizing the collaboration between traditional rulers and the Ghana Police Service?
We have it in existence already. I think if you look at the lines of Asantehene, there were high lines and low lines, middle lines. And he was coming in as a traditional leader, representing tradition and representing authority and representing a large area, particularly his role he has played in law enforcement, mediation, initiatives, conflict resolutions, environment, and many of those ones. He was just reiterating what has existed before, but I don't think he was saying that traditional leaders should be in charge of enforcing laws while the police play a second fiddle role. That is not it. In every community we have been as law enforcement officers, when things get wrong, the first person you want to talk to is the chief, is the makralo, is the justice chair. Before you come to the assemblyman, before you are talking about pastors and you are talking about DCE. So it works already in that particular regard. If there are areas of difficulties and gray areas we want to look at, we can extend that conversation. But this is something that has existed for many, many, many years, and it has helped in many occasions and instances to ensure that crime has been curtailed and criminals has been arrested and perpetrators has been dealt with. You will be surprised to know that sometimes when we are chasing criminals, they either run to the chief's compound, or if we cannot find them within the community, we report to the chiefs. And the chiefs also have a certain way, a means of identifying who really the criminal is. And they find a way of helping law enforcement officers in getting to the bottom of the matter. So that is what Asantehene was reiterating. Particularly, the other case is talk about the police being professional and not getting involved in politics. You and I have had this conversation before, when sometimes I jokingly said that when you go into the Ghana Police Service, over the years, we have political police, protocol police, and professional police. And it's an area that has affected the effectiveness and efficiency of the police in respective of the trainings we had, because wrong people were put at wrong places.
I see. And Dr. Kumado, since you have introduced the conversation about neutrality, Dr. Doke, what would be the biggest challenges to achieving this level of neutrality we're asking for? Not necessarily, or not only at the top echelons of policing. I'm not talking about the IGP level or the COP levels, because proper policing, it goes way beyond them. The constable on the road, this officer stopping you in the middle of the road, and all of that. They are the crust of policing in Ghana. How do we achieve that amongst them?
With regards to that one, I think training, capacity building, and we know how it is difficult to, separate the aspect of politics from security. This is what we are dealing with right now. I've spoken on this issue time and again, that if you want to, decouple the security services from the aspect of politics, where political elites have their, say in security issues by appointment and all of that, then we need to look at the law and reformation. But until we do that, this is what we are going to do. Now, it becomes difficult and challenging sometimes for us to expect that the security heads or service would, be 100% neutral when dealing with issues about tradition or crime fight against a particular group of people. It is very, very challenging. Now, how do we navigate that narrow road? I think the capacity building and training would, first of all, do a lot of good for our men. How so? They need to reorient or be reoriented as the fact that, one, the role they play is for the nation, the mandate to serve and not to serve individuals. So I think in that regard, we'll be doing some good. And then looking at how we can also put in place a mechanism for the long term, look at how they will have their own mechanisms of, succession. It is very key. There can be a time where we will have the, security heads put in place a mechanism that would enable them to succeed when it comes to change of government or whatever. And so we wouldn't be having bickering allegations and whatnot of, force being used against one party or a group of party and whatnot. So I think we have a lot to do as a country itself. It's not only about the security heads or the police service, but I think by and large we need to sit down and look at the security sector itself.
So essentially, we're talking about the values that build the service. The Asantehene yesterday also cautioned officers of the police service against viewing policing as merely a means of earning a living. He insisted that the profession must be driven by genuine sense of calling, compassion, and then service to the people. But the police service is one of the institutions where you know that if you are there, you have a constant and regular source of income. You and I know that a lot of people will go there because of the levels of confidence they have in the payment of their salaries. How do we marry the two, that the money will not be the motivation for them to enter the service and then abuse it by, bribes on the roads and amongst others? Dr. Doke.
This is a very tricky one, because in this day and age, you're talking about the aspect of not having enough opportunities to choose from, and the only opportunities that come in the services are the ones that people would, want to take. And so if you have many opportunities, then people would definitely not want to go to the service. Some people will not, trust me. But when the opportunities are limited, they will take it, the ones that come. And this is where we find ourselves. So someone may not necessarily be, interested in policing, not love the work, but because of the safety net it provides, the monthly income as you put in, you would want to choose, you want to take it. But how do we look at the aspect of giving what rightly belongs to, whoever? It is about creating that opportunity for the teeming youth to now pick from and choose. Because we know, even with the disadvantages or consequences that happened recently in last year about how people died and all of that, because there weren't many opportunities. So I think the hierarchy needs to look at this very critically. How can we create more opportunities for the youth? And then they will have, that leverage to choose from, and not, pick one as the only opportunity that is there. Until we do that, I'm sorry, this is only going to be the modus operandi when it comes to opportunities about security services and all of that. There isn't going to be any other way else.
I see. And Dr. Kumado, so bearing in mind where we're coming from and where we want to go and the motivations people have to join the police service, how do we, how does the service not let its officers think that you're doing this or you're in the service because of money, but you should be in it because you are called to do that? How do we find it?
It starts from the selection procedure. Once the procedure is flawed, the outcome will be flawed. And that is what we have witnessed for all these years. Particularly when you have politicians boasting on platforms that they have put in thousands of people, hundreds of people, and they want people to clap for them. It means that the selection procedure has an issue. My big brother just spoke about opportunity. That is one aspect. But even when they are coming in, the selection procedure itself is flawed. And to the extent that the selection procedure is flawed, the outcome will be flawed. And that is where we are. Once the ingredients that make up the mix is flawed, the yield variance will always be negative. And once you have an adverse variance, it means that you have a very long time, 10 to 50, 20 years, and the state is not deriving the dividends of training people, reorienting them, giving them the tools and providing capacity for them. Because it's a dividend that must come to the state after you have been recruited. But to the extent that you have a mixture of people who have no business being there, the yield variance has always been challenged. And it's not just the police, but many other places. Almost all our security agencies have been bastardized. I use myself an example again. When I was going to the BNI, we were over 4,000 that started the process. After 2.5 years of background checks, they pick only 4 of us. Today, by the grace of God, I have become a national asset, isn't it? We paid the price. We were taught, we were trained. It went through the process. That was the days of President Rawlings. You don't need to know anybody. You just apply. And you do not just apply. There are things they were looking out for. But once you run down the standard procedures and floralize the selection procedure, the outcome will be flawed, and that is where we are. Until we all wake up to our responsibility, we'll have challenges. You remember that Asantehene again said that people lobby to become the heads of the police in particular. And he said that this particular president told him, the current president told him that he's not going to get involved with policing work or law enforcement work, and people should stop that. That is one of the major keynotes of what Asantehene said. And if we go by that, considering our just previous history, where people said they have lobbied for 17 years, and that is a major issue. And I think we need to build on what has been done now going forward.
And we'll get to that conversation in a moment. But before that, let's talk about the levels of indiscipline and how much of a concern it is, because it came up during the visit of the Asantehene. What, in your experience, Dr. Kumado, what are the main sources of indiscipline within the service today? Why is indiscipline and misconduct, while is it still persisting within the Ghana Police Service?
Not just the Ghana Police Service, but we extend it to, of course, Ghana Police Service and focus. Non-punishable of offenses will always rationalize bad behavior and promote antisocial tendencies in law enforcement agencies, and for that matter, society as a whole. And with that in mind, law enforcement agencies have what we call due diligence unit. The due diligence unit of the police is what we call the PIPS, which is headed by COP Kujote. They are designed in a manner to deal with issues of indiscipline, misconduct, public complaints, and crime investigation. And people who usually head this unit are people who have seen it all and they have done it all at the highest level. They are non-biased, and the level of integrity they bring to the job helps. But I can also say on authority that law enforcement institutions and agencies in Ghana and across the group has a way of cleaning up the system. So I've always entreated people and admonish them that a politician may send you there, but once you enter, you may not find them again. And once you go against the standard protocols and the norms and the values of the system, you will be thrown out. And those ones do not catch the eyes of the general public or the lenses of the media, because these are internal issues. A lot more people have been punished. There have been punitive actions against them. People have been dismissed. People have been interdicted. And people have been sacked. And people have been reduced in rank. So they have a way of disciplining their own when they go against the norms and the SOPs and the values that establish the system. What we can encourage, you and I and everyone, is to encourage them that they should look more at that direction. And once they do that, they are going to be weeding out the criminals who find themselves within the police service, or people, illegitimate people and unapproved people who have no business being there. But then the argument goes beyond that. Why did they come in the first place?
Right. And I'll give the last word to you, Dr. Doke. But before you take leave of us, Dr. Kumado, let's talk about the element of political neutrality. The Asantehene spoke about it, and good to know that he says he's gotten the assurance from President John Dramani Mahama that he has no interest whatsoever. He recommended that the Police Management Board, for instance, they make recommendations to various positions or various areas within the service so that we don't see a lot of these lobbying and all of that. How are we still politically influenced in the police service when it should be a service for the people that should not be, politically motivated?
I wage a campaign in this country that the president should not be appointing the IGP, and the same president should appoint the CID boss. President Mahama had it. After how many years? Over 18 years. Finally, President Mahama had it, appointed the IGP, allowed the IGP to choose who become the CID boss, and he approves it. That's the best way to go. Advocacy and activism and crusading, when we do it properly, it also helps them because we are the brothers outside. Number two, because the hierarchy is a political appointment, the police are aware that that position is the prerogative of the president. And once they appoint them, they must also act in a manner that do not degenerate into chaos. Asantehene again says and talks about the issue of seniority. And that is something we have been overlooking because the position is a political one and it's at the discretion of the president. When juniors are appointed to govern over seniors, sometimes there are difficulties, but I believe we are human beings and we are institutions in transit, and we need to learn from the past what happened. If you remember, one of the cardinal sins of my uncle Dampari, which my uncle Yawonu has corrected, was the issue of promotion. Just before that, Asantehene came to Accra to visit the IGP Christian Tete Yawonu promoted about 30 officers who did fantastic and demonstrated competence and expertise in Asante region in an area of crime prevention and crime control just recently. And I believe that is one of the reasons why Asantehene came, and that will be one of the conversations they'll have privately, besides what was discussed publicly. So that when people demonstrate competence, they needed to be promoted. December, the special task force of the IGP was promoted. All other people from the police council at the end of the year recommended and they were promoted. Promotion is one way of motivating the people, and we shouldn't take it away from them. It's also part of strategic security leadership. And once you can have the leader at the very top who demonstrates some of these things, that they understand the job and they have been there before, politics dies off naturally. It is leadership who must demonstrate that. And until leadership demonstrates that, we will have problems. Having known that the top is appointed by the politicians, and in many parts of the world, that is the way it is done. And so we as leaders who have some of these institutions must come to the job well prepared. And we are seeing it in what Christian Yohono is doing. So probably he's also leaving a legacy for many people who will come after him to follow suit.
Dr. Kumado, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Let me pick your thoughts on this, Dr. Doke. So, in terms of promotions, that's where Dr. Kumado ended. Promotions and then appointments. We're looking also about the political neutrality status or the need for political impartiality for the service. What do you say to that?
I think my brother Richard has give you a very good answer, but let me add a few. Richard spoke about the professionalism and the person coming in knowing what to do. It is very key. So, for example, I'm appointed as the IGP coming in, okay, whether next in line or not. And this is what we need to understand. You may be thinking you are next in line with regards to having a top position, but it may not be so. There's a lot that goes into choosing someone to become an IG. Now, I become the IG and then look at how I can implement policies that, tackle the welfare of the service, of the personnel, okay? Looking at how I can lobby for funds, resources, for equipment, for them to fight crime. It is very key. Looking at how they can respect the human rights, okay, when it comes to demonstrations, when it comes to arrests, okay? I look at all these things and then look at how I can closely work with the hierarchy, which is very key. Have a professional relationship with the political elite. There's a lot that goes into it. Now, Richard spoke about something. When we realize that there is a structured system from the hierarchy and all the heads in there, naturally, the aspect of politics or whoever wants to influence dies down. And you would realize that the political elite will find it very difficult to come and infiltrate or even use their own people against the hierarchy. It is very, very difficult. So I think with regards to what the IG and its PMBs are doing, we should continue because it's creating or building a very brick wall that will make it difficult for any political elite to interfere. And that is one of the reasons why the king came there, to commend the police, commend the hierarchy and himself for doing a good job. So now, let's monitor and evaluate the performance of the IG and its hierarchy henceforth. And then we'll have a similar discussion a few months to come.
I see. And briefly, he praised the leadership of the current IGP, Mr. Yohono. Something you agree with? His leadership has been good?
Very much so, 100%. Wide so. This IG carries along his PMB, the management, every time. You see when he's traveling, he went to the operation sites, Boko, and all of those, critical areas. He carries these, men and women in service along with them. And in doing so, you give them the opportunity to also learn what is going on. They become abreast with situations. And then, to your benefit, they contribute ideas for you to succeed, which is very critical. So in management, you need collaboration and coordination, which is very essential. Other than that, if you decide to leave them at the background, you are on your own. If they see something wrong, it will become difficult for them to approach. And what IG is doing, what I've heard about the IG, he's a grassroots personnel. He started from very, very scratch and knows how to carry people along. And so we are not surprised about what he's doing. We would be expecting more of this to come.
Dr. Doke, thank you. Thank you so much, Doc.
You're welcome.
Dr. Victor Doke is a security analyst speaking with us there.